Today, I guess I'll showcase some of the cool stuff I made. Yeah, this is my algorithm visualizer, although right now all it does is just visualize the sorting algorithms. But later I might implement graphing, but that's probably gonna happen next year because I'm way too busy. So, um, if you wanna try out the code yourself, you just copy GitHub and you could run it in command prompt or you could go to the IDE that you use. But just for me, I just type in git link. Oh wait, shoot, wrong folder. I can't. There. Then there should appear your folder right here. Now, for some reason, if you click this oh, whoops. If you try to run it directly using Python, I don't know why, it just crashes. So the way you would do it is actually, you get the file path, and then you type in Python, and then this specific file name, and it should run. Now, as I would say, I'll probably implement graphs later, but as you can see, there's nothing there. There should be an options button here still. Don't know. That's a bug, but just don't click sorting. But the main thing is, yeah, there's an options button. You could turn down the sound if you wanted to. Yeah, and also this is the main feature. So we got these different buttons, and then there's like some statistics at the bottom. Shuffle just like shuffles the array but keeps like all the current array elements, while generates new array elements, and they're like completely random. You can also reset it back to sorted, reverse, and then for another way to input files is like putting in files, and then it'll give you what you put in the file, and you could generate how you want, and then you go to your previous file to get it back. Now we also got advanced, and you could change the array size. For example, you want it to be 256, and also you could change the time delay, and there's also different instruments, which is the sound that the sorting algorithm makes. It's a value between 0 and 127. I'm pretty sure, I don't know exactly what, but don't ask me what the numbers actually mean, because I actually don't know. The default is set to 13 because it sounds the best, but I mean, if you try to look up what the specific Python module I'm using is Pygame, but like they don't tell you what what the numbers actually represent, so I don't know, their documentation is pretty bad. So, so there's also sorting. That's kind of the main feature, really. And here's like a list of sorting algorithms that I've implemented myself. And also show the statistics at the bottom. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you could just change it to be cooler and be faster. And then let's do heaps. But you also, as again, you could change the volume, make your ears die. Now, auxiliary arrays are really only for counting sort and radix sort, because they do write to another array. That's why it's called auxiliary. And you'll see here. it smaller. Now it's really obvious and probably should have made it slower. I'm sure that's kind of too slow. But yeah, makes these now, those are currently all the features right now. There's like some other funny sorts. Specifically, a friend of mine coded Miracle Sort, and all it does is waits for it to be sorted magically. There's like no algorithm behind it. But this those are like the main features. You can also resize your screen. Although there have been some bugs with that. Like for example, if I resize it right now, but you could just click it again and it should fix itself. There's probably a ton of bugs. I mean, the ones I'm aware of are that if you press here, sometimes it presses the button behind it. I tried to fix that numerous times. It took me like 5 hours. It still isn't quite fixed. So I'm just not gonna bother with it. And then also sometimes, when you press another button to interrupt the sort, you have to wait for it to run through the entire array, like iterate through the entire array before it actually stops. So because for some reason in Python you can't just kill the thread directly. I don't know, some weird stuff with that. So like if I were to make it really slow, and then and you're like, oh, this is so slow. Oh wait, it worked this time. Oh, I don't know. Sometimes I've had that issue, but I guess not today. If you want to add your own sorts, you could go into algorithms, and then there's this file called sorting. Now, this is like where all the algorithms are actually implemented. For example, selection sort, insertion sort, and whatnot. So if you want to create your own sort in these files, you have to first make your sort. So call it whatever sort, and then it has to accept an array, an event, and an auxiliary array. Although if your sort doesn't use an auxiliary array, you can just set it to none. And you have your algorithm here, so sorting algorithm here. Now, in the middle of the sorting algorithm, the reason why we have an event is something called this. So what happens is that if I want to make it so that the sort stops when I interrupt it, you have to have this in the code. And what it does, so for example, if you were to go to look at counting sort, you see here. So if this wasn't there, then if the sort was in the middle of this for loop, then I tell it to stop, it's not going to stop because this piece of code isn't here to interrupt it. So make sure to put this in like for loops and like where basically where it iterates a lot, so that it will actually stop when you tell it to try to stop. Otherwise, it'll just keep running until it's done. And again, in Python, you can't just kill threads directly, which is really sucks and inconvenient. But also, this array object isn't like an actual array. There's specific methods like array.get. This if you want to look at the specific method you could use, you could go into arrays.py, which would be in UI, and then there's all the files here. And the specific methods you could probably use are here: get, replace, and swap. Those are the main methods you really use for sorting, because those are the only methods that actually play the sounds. and also have the delays so that um it looks cool. Now, so just remember you can only use here I'll type it in for you. You can only use array.get, array.swap, and array.replace. Those are the three methods you can only use for the sorting algorithm. You could probably, I guess there might be others that might use different methods, but I think that should do it for basically most sorting algorithms you would try to code. And don't forget to add it to this array. If you don't add it to this array, it just wouldn't register it. And yeah, I guess like the code itself is kind of trash because it's pretty disorganized in a lot of areas. Like the amount of Pygame groups I've made. Oh yeah, in order to run this, I should have said this at the beginning, but if you want to run this, you have to install Pygame, which is you can do in. I'm assuming you have Python installed too, but you can do pip install Pygame, and it should just install it for you. If it doesn't work, I guess you could look it up online, and hopefully it'll work for you. But that's how I. But like that's pretty much required in order to run this program. And yeah, that should be everything. Now I'll go into like the very technical details of the files that I've made here. This is kind of like the main file. If you're not familiar with Pygame, it's probably kind of gibberish, but yeah, this is where everything gets updated and whatnot. And there are several inconsistencies and like and there's probably a lot of ways I could do it better. Like I'm pretty sure you don't need this many objects, but it works. So I'm not really gonna bother to fix it because I spent way too long on this project. Now here is the arrays class, which is basically what visualizes the sorting algorithms and the array itself really. And yeah, this is basically how I create the arrays that show up on the screen and the specific methods related to it. UI is like the stuff that appears on your screen. That's what UI means. And I think like this is where all the buttons get initialized and all the text and whatnot get initialized and added to specific groups for it to be rendered. I have different classes set for like different screens, different options and whatnot. And then here's the wrapper, where this is the code behind all the buttons, all the text, all the scrolls. And if you notice, the scroll wheel is kind of bad because it doesn't scroll all the way, but it works, even though it doesn't really look that great. So I guess feel free to look through it. You should probably know Python if you want to understand what's going on. Although my code is already kind of gibberish anyways. So yeah. So this is basically my project. I do have plans to maybe make a graphing algorithm visualizer, but if that happens, that'll probably be in the summer when I actually have time. Because right now I'm currently really busy with other stuff. So yeah. Yeah, thanks for watching by the way. Have a nice day.